Good morning. This is State Senator Renee Unterman from the 45th District of Georgia. Throughout my time as a public servant, I have had the pleasure of working with numerous organizations that truly give back to their community and impact this great state on a daily basis. Atlanta Community Food Bank is one of these upstanding organizations that have repeatedly risen to the challenge of helping those in need. The Atlanta Community Food Bank was founded in 1979 and currently donates over 2 million pounds of food and grocery items a month to those who are under socioeconomic stress. Although based in Atlanta, they have given to over 700 nonprofit agencies in over 38 Georgia counties. They support a wide range of people in need, from children to the working poor. Food pantries, community kitchens, child care centers, night shelters, and senior centers are among the agencies that receive product from the food bank and provide food and other critical resources for low-income Georgians who suffer from hunger and food insecurity. The food bank also operates several community projects to aid our agencies in community building, technical assistance, and advocacy efforts. The food bank began as an emergency food provider in the basement of the St. Luke's Episcopal Church in downtown Atlanta. Today, the organization has become a fixture in the community with 129,600 square feet of warehouse space, distributing more than 20 million pounds of food each year. These challenging economic times have reminded us all that we must give back to those who have less than us. At the Atlanta Community Food Bank, they are committed to doing just that, in both good times and bad. And we're here today at the Atlanta Community Food Bank, and we have the pleasure to go on a tour, and we're going to show you a little bit about what the food bank does. And with us, we have the Executive Director, Bill Bowling, and he is also the founder of the bank. Mr. Bowling?
Hi there, Senator. Welcome to the Atlanta Food Bank. We're happy to have you here, and we do a lot of things in this facility, as you know, so we're happy to be profiled.
Could you tell us just a little bit about how you serve all Georgians? It's not just Atlanta and Metro Atlanta, but it's actually all Georgians, and what you do to serve them.
Sure. You know, what we did is start in Atlanta way back in 1979, but knew very quickly that we needed food banks throughout the state. So we have a Georgia Food Bank Association and have 7 certified food banks, certified with Feeding America, and that's our national association. Nationally, there are 203 food banks in the country. But here in Georgia, which is what we're interested in, we have food banks here in Atlanta, Macon, Columbus, Valdosta, Savannah, Augusta, and Athens.
And I think that is a misconception that people here in Atlanta think that you only serve Atlantans, but in actuality, it's all of Georgia. And that's one of the things I'd like to tell the state senators and representatives, that you do serve all Georgians. How much do you serve, and what do you actually do at the food bank?
Well, we have a lot of different programs, but our core business is to collect food that's unmarketable for whatever reason, damaged or out of date or whatever that would make it unmarketable. We get that donated here, we process it, and then we distribute it to community-based organizations, not individuals. So if an individual comes here, we're going to send them down the street. We have 700 plus organizations at the Atlanta Food Bank, Atlanta Community Food Bank serves, and we serve 38 counties. So we're all of North Georgia. Probably 60% of the population of the state is in the northern part. But statewide, we have about 2,700 organizations. Now you think, well, what kind of organizations would they be? About 60% of them are congregations. And they're congregations just like any of us would go to and worship at, and they have outreach programs. So they're running everything from congregational pantries to after-school programs to programs for the elderly, community kitchens, you know, and it's really up to them the kind of program they want to run. But if they're a member of our food bank, now when I say to be a member means we've been out to see you in operation. You've been operating at least 6 months. You have a 501c3, and you're in good relationship with the Secretary of State, where all that is kept. We require that you keep records. So every month you've got to turn in to the food bank who you fed, how many people you fed. All that's done online, and even the agencies themselves, even if it's a small little church in a small town, can go online and order what they need from us. We also have, and I think this is relevant to what we're talking about here, we have the contract for the TFAP. That's USDA product. And we get literally millions of pounds that comes through USDA. And we have another program that is federal money that comes through the state. We call it SNAP. Of course, food stamps are called SNAP now, but we had the name first. We call it SNAP, and that's actually a program where we take our private dollars that we spend running our food banks and match it with the state. This allows the state to actually pull down more money. So it's a win-win for all of us.
Bill, when I came into the building, I was particularly struck by these chairs and the significance of the donors and how you put an emphasis on showing what the community is doing to support you. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I can, and you know, we've tripped over the name a little bit today. There's a lot of words and a lot of letters in community, Atlanta Community Food Bank. But community really does describe who we are. It's not just a building, it's not just the staff here, but this is a community program. And that's the way it works throughout the state. So what we try to do is find a good fit. So if you've got food and we can work out a way that it's a good business proposition for you, then you would donate food. Other people donate financial support. Our largest source of income is individual givers, you know, giving relatively small amounts. We have literally thousands of people that make up the Atlanta Community Food Bank. Right here where we're sitting is a way that we recognize donors. When we did the capital campaign, we went out for a special ask, over and above operating every day. You know, how do we recognize people that really step up and say, we trust you, Bill. We're willing to give you this extra amount so that you get the right tools for the right job. So we're sitting on a piece of art right now, Senator, and we actually went to a famous artist who resides here in Atlanta, Marnie Dowd. He actually did the sculpture for the Olympics, if people remember that one, and he does it all over the country. You know, one of the things we do is we make audacious asks. So we went to Marty and said, we would like for you to create a way for us to thank our donors as an artist. And he spent time here. He said, it's the table. The table is what brings the community together. It's where we share. It's perfect for us. And I said, well, Marty, if we're going to do this, it needs to be sturdy enough so someday we might be sitting here doing an interview or kids come in. So we're actually here on a piece of art. And when you look at these tiles, every one of them is handmade by the artists. Okay? And it also has a name of who the donor is. We do this throughout the organization. So as we walk through the facility, you'll see ways that we recognize and tell our story. And I think everybody's heard of the food bank. And if you're down in Macon, you've heard of the Middle Georgia Food Bank. And if you're down in Valdosta, you've heard of the Feeding America Food Bank down there. Most people don't realize the size and scope, and that we actually have contractual relationships with the state and with the federal government, that we operate as a business. You know, this is, in our case, a $16.5 million budget. It's about a $40–45 million business that we're running here. And we're able to do that, again, because we can leverage the resources and that we can have a donor and say, what fits for you? The same way we do with the state. You know, how can we work together where you get what you need and we get what we need and we serve the community? That's the key.
Good. Bill, we're out here in the warehouse, and one of the things that I have been interested in, I've been working with a national conference of state legislatures on the Feed America program and a hunger program. Can you tell about the national issues and the national associations that you work with?
Sure. Well, the big one is Feeding America, and that's our association of food banks. And then, of course, from Feeding America at the national level, they work with state associations. So every state has an association of food banks. We share product with each other. We share best practices and best ideas. We have both regional meetings, state meetings, and then, of course, at least annually, a national meeting with Feeding America. Now, who would you find at a meeting like that? Well, just last week we had Undersecretary of USDA Kevin Concanon here.
Yes.
We had the regional office of USDA, and we were able to call together all the food banks in the Southeast. So that conversation is not only happening between us and the
Yes.
Health and Human Services Committee, it's happening in the region and it happens nationally.
Yes, and that's why it's been such an honor for me to work with NCSL. And we have another guest here. Can you introduce?
Well, even more than a guest, it's a colleague. As we've been referencing the state association, we have a full-time executive director, and their job is to wake up every day and figure out how can we make these relationships work best. So we have Ms. Dana Kraft here, and she is the executive director of the Georgia Food Bank Association. She interfaces with other state associations, with Feeding America, but her job is to help those 7 food banks and those 2,700 organizations do a better job.
Well, good. I know, Dana, I see you at the Capitol, and we're glad to have you at the Capitol and what you represent and what you're trying to do. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, part of my responsibilities, not all, but part, have to do with being the face of food banks at the Georgia State Capitol and talking to legislators and other stakeholders about issues that are important to food banks, like sales tax on food is one of the
Yes.
issues that's very popular right now, but also to make sure that legislators who aren't as involved as you, who don't already know personally about what food banks can do, that they know what the food banks in their districts are doing and the powerful role that they play in lifting up all the other organizations that they work with. The 7 food banks in Georgia all have warehouses like this, plus some regional distribution centers. They are all networked and an integral part of the nonprofit sector in their communities. They are powerful partners, and I want to make sure not only that I maximize the work they're doing, but that people understand their role and know that the food banks in their areas are working for them.
I know I get a lot of calls from my constituents, and other senators get a lot of calls from their constituents complaining about, we've lost our home, we've lost our car, we're living in an apartment, we're living off of food stamps now. What do you hear from legislators as their complaints?
I'm hearing the same thing you are, and the food banks and the agencies we work with have seen a significant increase in the number of people coming to food banks for the first time. 20% of the folks coming to the Atlanta Community Food Bank have never sought help before in their
And
lives.
that to me is just amazing, because I represent a very affluent district, but I have seen it plummet because of the construction industry.
Yes.
And it's very, very tragic. We appreciate what you do and how you help the senators and representatives, and welcome you at the Capitol and want you to do well. And thank you very much for coming out today.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.